Hello and welcome to Denis Garage. Today we're going to have a very special review because we're going to have a look of the Vostok Komandirskie, the first generation of Vostok Komandirskie, the one that was issued by the Ministry of Defense of USSR. But first, let's have some context before looking at the watch. After the Second World War, the Christopol watch factory was producing the popular Pobeda brand. In 1957, it started also to produce a new brand, Vostok, which means in Russian, East. In 1965, the factory became the official supplier of the USSR Ministry of Defense. During this time, the Soviet Union was in the middle of the Cold War, and they were racing to conquer space and building a military arsenal. So the Soviet Union asked the French watch manufacturer LIP to help them to modernize their industry by importing some new machinery to replace the obsolete watch industry that they have at the time. After the Second World War, the Soviets were still producing the Kirovsky Type 1, which was completely obsolete. So they needed to produce a new field watch for their troops with increased durability and a water-resistant case. That's when the famous Komandirskie, so in Russian it means commanders, came into life. It's not well documented, but it's very likely that the first Komandirskie was produced in 1965. The first Komandirskie was designed as a 1A model. So it's the first generation, available in black or with a white dial, and they are really easy to recognize with the equilateral triangle as hourly marks and also the 12, 6 and 9 numeral in very large format on the dial. All are covered with phosphorescent paint. Note that on the military version it's branded Komandirskie, with the star above the 6, and at the bottom of the dial it's written in Cyrillic by order of the Ministry of Defense of the USSR. Almost at the same time came the version 1B, where the big equilateral triangles were replaced by smaller isosceles triangle as our marks. Almost at the same time came the 1C, and it's the watch that we're going to review today. All these models were really military watches that were not sold to civilians, only to military forces. The Komandirskie we have today is the third edition of the Komandirskie, and it's an interesting model because it was produced during a very short period of time in a little number. Because if the first Komandirskie was produced in 65 and already in 67, 68, there was the fourth version of the Komandirskie, the 1.5 version. So that means that the version was really produced during maybe few months, I would say no more than a year. And the version we have today is a gold-plated version. We can see here that there is a AU20 inscription, which means 20 micro-inch of gold. And to be very specific, the case reference is 383. It was also available in a chrome case, and the diameter of the watch without the crown is 34 millimeters with a lug opening of 18 millimeters. There is a dome plexiglass crystal, and if we look at the back of the case, it's written in Cyrillic, shockproof balance and dustproof. It's also mentioned 2214, which is a movement reference of the watch. On this variant, gone are the triangle and the large numeral, except for the 12-hour marks, and instead we have bars and a double bar at 6. The minute marks are now deported more to the center of the dial, and on top of the dial it's written Komandirskie, then we have the red star, and below the red star I don't know what is written. There are two versions of second hands. the early one and the late one. Here it's the late one. It's called the Cupid second hands. Also, the hour and minutes hands have loomed. They are loomed, and we can see at 3 o'clock the date window with the numeral which are written in red. As we can see here, this Komandirskie is equipped with a movement with a second hand that can be hacked. So that means it's stopped. It's a movement caliber 22-34. Actually, it's an in-house movement. But some other version could be equipped also with a movement 22-14. Of course, the movement is equipped with a shockproof mechanism. And here it's written in Cyrillic 18 joules. And we have the Vostok B. Let's wind the watch a little bit. It's a 18,000 beats movement with a power reserve of about 38 hours. So first generations of Komandirskie are for me a real piece of Soviet military history. What is nice is to have at the bottom of the dial written order by Ministry of Defense of the Soviet Union, and this particular model also with a 22-34 mechanism make it a real field watch from the 60s. If you enjoyed the video and want to continue to view free content, please like the video by putting the thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel.